Alright guys, such comic again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day. So far, the CDL format has been a point of massive controversy this season, especially the way the season was structured, starting with minor tournament, with major tournament, with loads of qualifiers on the line and points to accrue. The end of the season, though, went by very quickly indeed. Just a few qualifiers, just a couple of majors, no minor tournaments at all, and potentially meaning that teams like the Minnesota Rocket that were trying to make a run towards the end of the season had a far harder task on their hands actually making that happen. Was the CDL format this season fundamentally flawed? Clayster and Attach are not particularly happy with the way that it was run, and they want serious changes, it seems, going into next season and beyond. Not just for the players, but also, I would say, for the fans as well. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Starting with a couple of things. This I thought was pretty interesting. If you guys, well, I know that Zuma was, I think, watching it yesterday. I don't know if you guys got to see the first episode of this yet. If you're on, like, Prime Video or whatever, you can go ahead and watch the Esports World Cup Level Up first episode. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work or where Drazah is going to feature, because Drazah made a brief appearance in this one, but it was mainly about Hisoka and his story on the Warzone side. I think in general it was pretty well done. Like, it was well directed, it painted the picture quite nicely. Again, I think you've got to understand that as from an esports fan perspective, it obviously is catered more to a demographic that doesn't really understand esports, which is probably fine, but, you know, like, it might get a little frustrating to watch at times. I don't know how they're going to describe, I'm fascinated to know how they're going to describe, like, hardpoint and search and destroy and control to fans that don't really know. To be fair, though, like, the way they did it for Warzone, I would have needed that to watch it for League of Legends, you know? So, like, I do understand why it's necessary. But, yeah, I think it's pretty cool anyway to have this type of stuff out there. The first episode wasn't really, it was just about Warzone. I thought maybe they would do it about Warzone, like, just Call of Duty in general. They do Hisoka's story, and maybe they do Drazah's. But I think it's honestly going to be really, like, I think it's pretty well done overall. I did find it relatively entertaining, to be fair. And hopefully the future episodes are for the same. You've also got to recognize, though, that this documentary series is funded by the tournament, right? Like, they've paid for, you know, they've, I imagine, found the relationship with Amazon Prime. I don't really know what it looks like there because, of course, for Amazon, they benefit having this on their services, and maybe they split the cost. I don't really know how it works. But the point is that, you know, it's not like a critical view, let's say, of the tournament and the pros and the cons, and often you'll look at the crowd and the noise you hear from the crowd doesn't necessarily add up with the noise you hear on the actual, like, broadcast, right? So, you know, obviously there's to and fro here. You've got to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But I think the general execution here is pretty well done. Of course, they talk about it as, you know, it's like the Super Bowl, it's like the World Cup, it's like the Olympics all rolled into one. Like, not yet, really. That's not how we view it as fans, necessarily. In 10 years, that may be a different story, right? Because, you know, I think you need a little bit of history for these tournaments to start to carry some serious weight, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be going away. So, yeah, I would give it a watch if you guys have able to do so, and, well, I'll be watching the episodes anyway, and I'll let you know when Drazah's episode arrives, because he's not like a main character, I don't think, but he will be appearing in one of them. So, we'll see how that goes. A couple of other things going around. Of course, there is talk about the general state of COD and Warzone and everything. Doug Sensor Martin gives his perspective on it as well, and yeah, it's been frustrating in recent days. We know that a lot of the players, Nadechart was not very happy about things. He gave that rant the other day about the cheating drama and the state of Warzone. Scump isn't very happy about it either. They went over to Splitgate and played a fair bit of that. Not really too surprising. This was also maybe not too surprising, but I mean, look, you can predict the comments that you're going to see in replies to this already, and I could have easily made this like an actual video, but I thought it wasn't really a good idea. I don't think it's fair. But Dashy says, CS with Paco. So I did kind of joke about this yesterday, because Dashy was talking about learning the jungle smoke, wasn't he, which is obviously on Mirage, which is a Counter-Strike map. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, that's good off-season activities. But no, apparently in the lead up to champs, we're running it anyway. And people are going to criticize Dashy for this, as we can see in the replies, because they always do. But it's not like, you know, HyDra isn't also grinded as well. And it's just a major talking point that comes up every single season when you get stuff like this. We've got a couple of weeks to the World Championship. Look, is Dashy not grinding COD? No, like, obviously they're playing scrims, they're grinding during the day, they're probably doing VOD review, they're putting in the extra push, but then late evening, I mean, look at this. This was tweeted out 4:43 a.m. my time, right? So we're talking 10:43 p.m. over there in Dallas. What do you want him to do, right? Like, is he going to play COD all day and all night? I mean, look, maybe there's an argument to say that Dashy should come off playing COD all day with the team and then hop on COD and play some more, like play ranked, play whatever, just, keep him with the game. The issue is with that is that you're playing in a different patch. So it might not even be possible, I guess is the point, to actually grind more CODs because the patches are out of whack. I don't know, maybe it's possible to find a way, but I don't know, the point seems to be for many teams right now that in their practice going into the World Championship, it's going to be really about the quality of that practice as opposed to the quantity of the COD that they can play. Because I think that really is the environment where they've got to be maximizing. Outside of that, look, you want the players to, not burn themselves out in the couple of weeks of chance playing COD all the time. If they want to play CS with the boys in the evening, I don't really see an issue with that. Although, some would argue that you don't want to play another, like, controller-based game. If Dashy was hopping on playing Halo, then I think it would be understandable for people to say, well, maybe he shouldn't. But I think for CS, playing on keyboard and mouse, I don't really see an issue with it, but obviously there's going to be talk about, they're not locking in, the final push doesn't exist, but I think there's a bit more nuance to it than that, and it's not like Dashy's just, he's not like he's playing with Shotzzy, Huke and Mercules, right? Like he's playing with HyDra, who's obviously a good friend, but he's also playing for the best team in the world. But then again, people would also say, well, HyDra's not locking in, complacency, stepping in for the Thieves, and, well, I'll leave you guys to make your judgments on that. But the drama that I wanted to get into was the perspective on the World Championship and the teams that ended up qualifying, and really the format that we have had this year. Because if we see the season standings, we had 4 majors. Included in those majors, we had minor tournaments as well. So there was a minor during the Major 1 qualifiers, there was a minor during the Major 2 qualifiers. The first minor was won by FaZe, the second minor was won by Thieves, right, during Major 2, and then we didn't have one for the last couple of tournaments. So Clay, and certainly Attach, gave his perspective on this because, Attach and the Cloud9 guys, they had a difficult start to the season. I want to say they got a bit better towards the ends, and I don't know, the numbers don't really point towards that, to be fair. It felt like they made some progress. I think really Major 2, they started to make some progress, really. And they had some opportunities to capitalize. But I think Attach felt like the way the season was run, the first couple of months of the year, pretty much until like March, determined almost everything that we saw from the season. All that really changed from then to where we are now is some of the seedings at the top of the league and of the teams that made champs. Didn't really see much other movement than that, and that's potentially largely because the way the tournament circuit was designed. Clayster says that last year he wasn't very happy about the way that it was done because it just seemed like the scheduling that they found themselves in last year's Ravens was just really challenging for them. And this season, the season was going quite a good pace, and then it just ended very abruptly.
This year, you were rewarded for being better at the beginning of the game. More to make champs, Like if you were better stage 1 and stage 2, you could earn more points in stage 3 and stage 4, which makes
I ain't seen Carolina win a series in months, man, and they were cool in it.
Bro, like even last year, like our extra matches were like OpTic, Thieves, New York, fucking Toronto. It's like, okay, if we would have had those 40 extra points, we maybe would have, if we played easier teams, we could have started winners more, made an extra 10 points.
Yeah, I had to play LAT and FaZe for 35% of our matches this year.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Damn, bro.
To the retirement home in a wheelchair, man.
The CDL actually plotted against me to get me out of here. No bullshit.
The whole format is who gets, bro. The entire format.
CDL actually plotted against me, bro. They wanted to see Unk gone.
Hey, yeah. You said he was in a wheelchair, Ian? He
Ernie rolled his ass into that retirement home, man.
Yeah, bro.
Who is Trakes? This guy's 25 and 9.
Fundamentally, I think the reason why this season went as it did, and the reason why we had loads of qualifiers, this just to keep in mind is last year's qualifiers, 2024. I just wanted to show you guys, this is for the Ravens, that they played all these qualifiers Major 1 last year. There were 7 qualifiers Major 2, 7 qualifiers Major 3, 7 qualifiers Major 4. And, as Clayster kind of said, that during a lot of these situations, they would end up playing really good. They lost a number of game 5s to FaZe, to Subliners, even to Gorillas, who were good that stage as well. That pretty much cost them their chances to make it to the World Championship, which Ravens didn't quite make it to last year. I also wanted to look back at the Vegas Legion because I know that Donnie Temp talks about this quite a lot, and I think it's fair. Going back to the previous season in Modern Warfare 2 in 2023, this was the year. I mean, look at this. They didn't make it this year to champs. They started pretty badly. But towards the end of the season, they just got kind of unlucky with the teams that they played. And maybe you can argue that you earn your own luck, but Don talks about how at the end of the season, I mean, look at that. They went 4-1 in the qualifiers, Major 5 qualifier. This is Legion 2023. They beat OpTic, they beat Subliners, they lost to FaZe, they beat Rocker, they beat Surge at the time. They then went to the Major and they played FaZe in the first rounds. They 3-0'd Seattle Surge, who are like, that was pretty decent Surge team back then. Then they got 3-0'd by Subliners, who went on to win that tournament in the World Championship. So, you know, they just got kind of unlucky with the bracket. But I think Clayster's point really more so back to today is the way that the league has been structured, from the fact that we had 7 qualifiers during Major 1 and a minor. If you won the minor, you got 30 points. The same at Major 2. I think the reason why this happened is because DreamHack Dallas was a set time. And if they wanted to combine it with DreamHack Dallas for the Major 4, they had to condense everything else, and that's what they did. So I think that's the challenge, really. Like, I don't mind the DreamHack events, great. Like, combining it with other things, awesome. But the thing is, they're not choosing when the DreamHacks happen or when these other tournaments happen based on what the COD League schedule wants. They will say, we're going to do it here because it makes the most sense on this weekends for all the things we have under this roof, and if you want to be there, CDL, you make it work. They did make it work, but they made it work in such a way that the final couple of majors, there were 5 qualifiers per the teams. I mean, if you look at some of these numbers, right, I mean, the first major, OpTic scored 60 points. The second major, I mean, they even scored more than that because they had the minor as well. Major 2, Thieves scored 70 points in the qualifiers and 30 points because they won the minor. Like, they got 100 points just in the qualifiers. And yeah, they went to the LAN and only got 65. But, you know, the point still stands. Major 3, then that time in the qualifiers, they went 4-1, but only 40 points, right? So the point is that a team like Ravens did so well at the start of the season that they were effectively uncatchable by any of their rivals. And that was Attach's perspective to say, yeah, you know, whatever he really did, it wasn't going to matter because Ravens started the year so well. And it's not like they didn't deserve it precisely. I don't think that's the point that's necessarily being made. But the point is that, you know, what's more valuable really to the overall goal? As I've said, I think it's more impressive that Thieves won Major 3, Major 4 than FaZe winning Major 1, Major 2, because towards the end of the year, the game is understood at a deeper level. If anything, the back end of the year should be weighted more than the front end of the year because it creates more storylines. It means that teams have more of a potential to actually make a run. It's probably more impressive if teams are good at the end of the year than at the start, because at the start it can be a little bit fluky. You know, I think we've seen this in other esports. I think even Valorant's doing something like this, where towards the end of the season, the matches that are played give you more points. Because those are, I mean, it's a bit cheesy, but it keeps the storylines alive, right? It means that comebacks in the standings are more possible, but also it means that it weights those matches as more important because, you know, those are potentially when you've had more practice and it probably will show the better team overall. So there's something to think about there, I would say, because in many respects, I think we got it this season wrong. I would love to have had 7 qualifiers every major and then a minor. I really, I love the minor tournaments, just make that very clear with my wording. But, you know, I like the minor tournaments, and I don't think they should have gone for Major 3, Major 4, but I think just based on the way that things were handled, there wasn't really any other way to do it with where the tournament and when the tournament had to be at the end of the season. But if we could have done it the other way around and had Major 1, Major 2 with just 5 qualifiers, and then the end of the season brought in the minor tournaments as well, I think that would have been better than what we had. So some lessons to learn. I think we can take away some positives from this season's schedule, but fundamentally it's still not as good as it could be. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.